Hey everybody, I am Christy. Welcome to the Ramsey Ranch here in the foothills of Tennessee. But today I am taking you back to my old stomping grounds, Chicago, Illinois. Because why? Today, May the 24th, 2025, is the 10th anniversary of National Italian Beef Day, and May is National Italian Beef Month. What? You may not even know what Italian beef is. I'm here to show you my version of the classic Chicago sandwich, Italian beef. Come along with me.
Oh, it's a simple living in the hills of Tennessee. But Brooks and Christy say that's the life for me.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson before we start this classic sandwich that I grew up with coming from Northwest Indiana, which is sort of considered a suburb of Chicago these days. But so Italian beef came along when Italian immigrants in Chicago would work in the meat packing plants, and they were allowed to take home what was then considered the cheap cuts of meat. And oftentimes that was a chuck roast, and that's what I've got here. It's a chuck roast. I've got about 2 3/4 pounds. Would like to have 3 or 4, but this is what we've got, and it is just the two of us, so that's plenty. But back to the history lesson. So they would bring these cuts of beef home, and a chuck roast being what it is, it has to be braised for a long period of time, which is why we're using our rock crock with the slow cooker stand here, because it is going to cook throughout the day. But they seasoned it with the Italian herbs and spices that they knew of back in the day, which of course is your oregano and your thyme and your rosemary and your basil and so on. We're going to be using a Pampered chef seasoning, the Italian seasoning. I've been using this since I'm in my early 20s, and I am very loyal to it because it's one of the best. But anywho, they began serving Italian beef sandwiches at weddings and gatherings and parties because it was a cheap way to feed a lot of people. So the Italian beef sandwich eventually became born when a sort of a food truck owner, his name escapes me right now, but I'm going to try and pop it back up on the screen there, began selling these to the workers throughout Chicago. They would put the beef on a French roll, and it was an easy way for them to have lunch back then. So let's talk a little bit about the rolls. So Italian beef is traditionally served on a French roll. French roll, hands down, figure that one out. It is a crusty roll that has a nice, not crispy, but durable exterior, but a soft interior. And the two quote approved rolls that I'm aware of are the Gonella rolls and Turano rolls. Now we can't get Gonella rolls here in Tennessee, but we can go to Gordon Food Service and get the Turano rolls, which makes me really happy because the roll is so important. If you can't get either one of these, try to find a French roll that has a nice durable exterior with a soft interior. You do not want I'll show you why when it's done. You do not want a soft roll. It is not going to work. It's just not going to work. So French roll is ideal. I get these at Gordon Food Service. So I have to actually go to Knoxville to get them. And so I made a special trip for rolls for this episode. Italian beef is one of the easiest things to put together. I have already pre-sliced my 2 3/4 pounds. And so I'm going to show you right now how I do that. So we're starting out with a 2 3/4 pound chuck roast. I couldn't find a 3 pound, so 2 3/4 pound it is. I have frozen it and then partially thawed it. It's been out of the freezer maybe 2 hours. And that's going to help us slice our roast beef or our chuck roast thin, just like we would like it on a Italian beef sandwich. My buddy Chicago Mike over at Chicago Hot Dog and Sausage Company told me about this little trick. And if you look at what I'm doing here, I'm just going to slice this paper thin. I am using our Pampered Chef 8-inch Santoku knife. And it slices right through this partially thawed chuck roast. So this is going to give us those nice thin slices like we like when we eat an Italian beef. Now, if you don't want to go through this step, you can cook it whole and shred it. That's how my mom did it, or sometimes she would just slice it a little bit thicker as it was cooked. But I love the thinly sliced Italian beef. So that is what we are doing today. And it's okay if some are just a little thicker than others. Doesn't have to be perfect because it's all gonna get eaten. So I am using the Rock Crock slow cooker. This is a Pampered Chef product. The Rock Crock can actually go in the oven, in the microwave, on the stove, and on the grill, as well as in the slow cooker stand that you can purchase with it. So this is a 4-quart Rock Crock. I'm going to go ahead and put my meat in. Now you can see, and as you saw me slicing the meat, this has been sliced relatively thin. It's about 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and put all of this meat in my Rock Crock. And as I said while I was slicing the meat, you don't have to slice it. That's the way I like it, and that's the way it is traditionally served in Chicago these days. You can certainly cook the whole roast this way and then just shred it, which is the way my mom would do it, or sometimes she would just slice it after it was done, but the slices wouldn't be super thin. And again, these slices are not going to be super thin. So if you have like a deli slicer that can slice super, super thin, that's ideal. But I don't have one, so I'm doing the best that I can here. And then the par freezing of the meat makes it a bit easier to slice thinly. And shout out to Chicago Mike up at Chicago Hot Dog and Sausage Company in Knoxville, who kind of gave me that little tip. He is an old Chicago food man, and he has opened up a Chicago street food restaurant up in Knoxville, and we love to go visit him to get Chicago dogs and Maxwell Polish and pizza puffs and, of course, Italian beef. And his is really, really good. But I don't have time to go see Chicago Mike today, and I wanted to show you how I do it, which actually tastes kind of similar to his. So, you will have a decently authentic version of Italian beef, although there are 100 ways to make it, and there's going to be somebody on here from Chicago who will come and say, that's not the way we do it, and this and that. This is the way I do it. This is similar to the way my family has done it for years, so this is what we're getting. Alright, so I'm going to clean up this cutting board real quick, and then we're going to get to how are we spicing this. Alright, so Italian beef is all about how it is spiced, and I like a lot of flavor, so I'm going to slice it up pretty good. First thing we're going to do is, so if you were going to do a roast, you would go ahead and just put all the spices on the whole roast, but I'm kind of going to do it backwards this way. So my rule of thumb is for every pound of meat that you have, you need 1 cup of beef broth. Why? Because you're going to want to dip or dunk or soak that sandwich, because that is the way it is done. So I have 3 cups of beef broth here. I did use the Better Than Bouillon beef, the beef stock that you go ahead and dilute. And let me grab my mixing spoon. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of mix that beef down in there. And I'm going to go ahead and bring you in closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. You can see that the broth and the beef kind of brought it about 3/4 of the way to the top of the 4-quart Rock Crock Dutch oven. So this is one of the secret ingredients. It is 1 package of the good Seasonings Italian dressing mix. I'm going to go in with that. Oopsie. So the beef broth is already salted. This is already salted. We don't want it to be too salty, so I'm just adding in just maybe half a teaspoon of sea salt extra. And we're going to go in with probably a teaspoon of pepper. And I've got my Pampered Chef Italian seasoning, which is a must-have in my kitchen arsenal since the time I was just a young cook in my 20s. I don't use any other kind. I'm kind of a snob about it. Oh, it smells so good. All right, so oregano is important. There is oregano in the Pampered Chef seasoning, but I like to go in with maybe a half a teaspoon more. And what is Italian food, anything without garlic? And you can use minced garlic in this. I prefer to not have the chunks of minced garlic in this particular sandwich, so I use about a half a teaspoon of organic garlic powder. And this is optional, and it's not traditional, but since we don't really do the hot peppers on it, we like to add just a little bit of red pepper flakes. So I'm saying there's probably a quarter teaspoon, if that. And man, I say it every time, you should smell this. So we're just going to mix it in. That is going to be some goodness, y'all. I know some of you have been asking me, how do I make my Italian beef? Today is your day. All right, we're going to put our rock crock lid on. We've got our rock crock set on low. We're going to let it cook probably about 6 hours. And it should cook low and slow and absorb all of those flavors and spices that are in there. We will come back when we add in our green peppers, and I'm going to show you how I slice those up. All right, so I've got two bell peppers. I've got a red and a green. You could use all green. I don't do giardiniera with my Italian beef. We like the sweet peppers, and we put this into the rock crock or slow cooker about an hour before the beef is done. So I'm just going to go ahead and slice these up. Got my core out here, my stem out. Using my 5-inch Santoku knife, favorite knife in the whole world. I almost just cut myself. Can't do that. I've got my little, bring my napkin over. Got my little scoop loop here, and this is gonna take out the seeds and the veins from my pepper. It's got two sides, and it's got little teeth on there. It just makes easy cleanup of the pepper. And just knock the peppers out just like that. Alright, so see it in there. I'm just going to take the scoop loop and get it out. Super easy. Knock the seeds out, and we are nice and clean inside. Now we're just going to slice these into strips. All right, peppers are cut up, and we're going to save those aside for later. So it's been about 6.5 hours. We had a little running to do this afternoon, and the rock crock has been cooking our Italian beef all morning and afternoon. And it is piping hot, as you can see, but look how beautiful that is. I'm going to stir in our peppers and come back in just a little bit of while. And then we'll be ready to serve up these beautiful Italian beef sandwiches. Okay, so our peppers are cooked the way that we like them. They are cooked through, but not floppy. There's still just a tad bit of crunch there with them. And of course they will get softer as they sit as well. So there are 3 ways of making an Italian beef: dry, wet, and dipped. Dry is when you just take the toppings and you kind of drain the juice off a little bit and you throw it in the bun. Wet is you pick it up like this and you let the juices go into the bun, and then dipped is letting the juices get in the bun, and then you are dunking that sandwich into the broth. So I usually eat it wet, which means that I'm not going to drain the juice off. I'm just going to let it go in there and let that juice get into that sandwich. Oh gosh, does that look good. And I forgot to mention, we put cheese on ours. So I've got a couple of tablespoons of shredded mozzarella cheese in the bottom. You could certainly use provolone if you like that. So this is considered wet. And I might even like it just a little bit wetter for my own taste. So I'm going to take my ladle here and ladle some more juice into that. So make it, we don't want to make it super wet, but we want the juice to be there. Now Brooks likes it dipped, and dipping is fun. So I've got his cheese in here. We're not going to spare any of the sauce or the gravy or the broth, whatever you want to call it. Some Italians call it gravy. All right. Get him some peppers. Now, many Chicagoans use giardiniera, which is a spicy, like relish, a spicy vegetable relish that has been pickled on their Italian beef sandwiches. I like it sometimes. It's not something that I have on hand here at the house, but like if I go to Chicago Mike, sometimes I'll get the giardiniera. So we like the sweet peppers. All right, so we are going, let me just tuck this meat down in there. Now we're just gonna dip. I dip, you dip, we dip. Ooh, yeah. There it goes. Oh, we're almost losing our sandwich. Can't do that. That's why you need, that is why you need a sturdy bun like a Gonella or a Turano bun like we have here. And that is it. That is how you do it. This is Italian beef. I'll be trying mine for you in just a minute. But look at that. Those, they smell amazing. So today is May the 24th, 2025. It is Memorial Day weekend. I just wanted to say for a moment, enjoy your weekend and remember why we have the freedom that we do, for all of those who fight and have lost their lives for our beautiful country, the United States of America. We don't live free for cheap. It comes at a very, very great cost. And I am very thankful for those who have given their lives so that our country can be free. And if you are a family member, a mom, a dad, a sister, brother, cousin of someone who has lost their lives for our country, I thank you, and I pray for you. Brooks and I both do. We do not take Memorial Day lightly in the Ramsey Ranch household, and we just want you to know how much we love and appreciate you and the sacrifice that your family has made. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and try my wet Italian beef. And guys, these look just about exactly like what you would get at any Italian beef place in Chicago. So let's go give it a shot. Mmm. Seriously, it's as good of Italian beef as I've had anywhere. Cooking it all day and letting it braise in those lovely juices and spices is the key. I did go back and add about another half teaspoon of salt. Now you can do that as your stuff is cooking and you realize the beef is cooked through. Test it and see what you think. So I think we ended up with probably a whole teaspoon of salt extra with what we had added into here. But anyway, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up at the Ramsey Ranch. We are growing and we are appreciating each and every one of you who have been subscribing and watching me cook and sharing our lives. We didn't get to go see the little baby chicks this week. It has just been a chock full week here with work, and our Smoky Mountain Faith Food and Fun has had a lot of great opportunities at the other channel, and so it's just been busy, guys, and I'm just so glad that I actually was able to get the Italian beef video out, because Italian beef is one of those things that is near and dear to my heart. It takes me back to my childhood, takes me back to my mom, and it's just a very special sandwich to those from the Chicagoland area. And if you've never had one, make one, because they're fantastic. They are really, really good. Just make sure you get a nice crusty French bread or French roll that has softness inside, but a nice sturdy outside. Now Brooks is here. Brooks's is wet and it is still holding up. So with that, get you in the cooking, make you up some Italian beef, y'all, because it is one of my very favorite things. It is super simple. Set it and forget it, and at the end of the day, you have an amazing sandwich, and that's it. So we will see you next week. I'm not sure what I'm doing for next week yet. If you have suggestions, I'm always open for that. But get you in the kitchen and cook you up something good. God bless you. Have a wonderful, safe, beautiful American Memorial Day holiday. Bye-bye, everybody.